Hello and welcome to It's Character Building, where we, your nerd theorists, will be making our D&D characters. And this week we are doing Warlocks. So myself and Andrew, we make D&D characters in completely the opposite way. So we found it very interesting to try and find out exactly what we're going to do. And each week we're doing a different class. And as I say, this week is Warlock, so I am eager to find out what Andrew's got in store for us today. So please kick us off, Andrew.
Oh, I shall. Warlock is one of the classes that I've not had a chance to play properly, but it is one of my favourite classes.
It's not one I've really played a lot of, really.
No, it's because of the whole patron thing. I think it's quite niche sometimes, and it doesn't always fit in the right campaign setting. But when you do find the right campaign setting, we've got some good builds for you. So, kick us off with the race. I've gone for a Shadar-kai elf.
Another elf?
Now,
okay.
Yes, another elf, and
Okay.
it is for a very similar reason. There'll be no surprises if you've watched the Rogue, or Rouge, as people like to call them, Rouge building video as the reason as to why I've gone elf. But this elf, a little bit of thematic, so I've taken a leaf out of your book. They're sworn to the Raven Queen's service, and they come from the material plane from the Shadow and the Shadowfell. So, yeah.
Okay. So that kind of leads directly in
leads you
your
into
backstory quite nicely.
Yeah, and gives sort of some credence to what a patron might be. So you could have the
Raven Queen.
Raven Queen, Raven Queen as your patron. Dark Vision, 60 feet, always nice. I've gone for the Origin ability score increase. The new one that was added. I don't think we've mentioned it previously.
Oh yeah. So is that the one where you just get the you get to choose which ability scores you put them in? So you get either is it 3 different ability scores at 1, or 1 at 2 and 1 at 1 of whatever
I've
choice?
gone for the I've gone for the 2 in one and 1 in the other.
Okay.
For that, which I'll cover when we go to the abilities. This one also gets a resistance to necrotic damage, which could be quite useful, and a really cool ability called Blessing of the Raven Queen. So as a bonus action, you can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can only use it once per long rest, but it's just a nice little additional movement ability that's just as part as your race. Seems like a good sort of freebie. Oh, and it was at 3rd level. You also gain resistance to all damage when you teleport using this trait, and it lasts until your next turn. So you get yourself you could get into the fray if you were out of of the melee fray.
Like temporarily tank for a turn.
Yeah, essentially. So it sort of helps you get into combat, which sort of leads me onto my class choice. And obviously, we sort of mentioned in the cleric video that it's rare for a class to get its subclass choice at 1st level, but here we go, we've got another class that gets its subclass choice at 1st level. So my otherworldly patron, I've gone for the Hexblade, which is very much takes the Warlock class from being a long-range spellcaster, trying to keep its distance, to wanting to get up into the melee with all the monsters. So with Hexblade, you get something called Hex Warrior, which gives you medium armor, shields, and martial weapons proficiency, and also it allows you to sort of channel the patron through a particular weapon that you choose. So you can touch a weapon and it becomes your hex weapon, as it were. And for when you use that weapon to attack, you can use your charisma modifier for your attack rolls and your damage rolls. So it sort of takes you a melee class needing like strength or dex, and puts it all into charisma.
So that's really nice.
So,
I see. Yeah. I knew that the Hexblade Warlock existed, particularly from Critical Role, but I didn't realise it allowed you to use your charisma modifier instead of strength. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it sort of makes you be just that attribute that the Warlock likes, focus in a melee sense. You also get a really cool ability to help with your damage output. So you get a thing called Hexblade's Curse. So you can, I think it's just it's a bonus action once per short rest, and you get a bonus to your damage rolls equal to your proficiency. So that scales really well with just leveling up in general. Any attack roll that you make crits on a 19 or a 20, so sort of effectively doubling your critical hit chance. And if you kill the cursed target or it dies, you get hit points back equal to your Warlock level and your charisma modifier. So a little bit of healing there as well.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, really sort of helps with the damage and critical hit, which we will be looking for in this build. So second level you get Eldritch Invocations, but because we've gone all the way to 8, you can each level when you pick a Eldritch Invocation, you get to each level when you level up, you get to change a previous Eldritch Invocation. Now I think the first two that I picked I'd stuck with, because one of them's Agonizing Blast. So this is mainly just to give you a bit of a ranged weapon option. So when you're not fighting melee, which I know a lot of melee characters sort of struggle with, because you possibly end up using, say if you're like Hector from our campaign, he uses strength mainly for his melee, but I also have a longbow which uses dex, so I'm not that good with it. But having Agonizing Blast allow you to add your charisma modifier to the damage, it can really help with in an Eldritch Blast, in my opinion, is like one of the strongest cantrips for offensive action anyway. It scales really well with when you level up. It becomes multiple beams.
In any kind of build, like say, even if you've gone like a very martial melee build, it's nice to have that option of, like, even if it's a thrown weapon, just so you've got something just to be able to do a little bit of damage if you can't reach them, or if you've got a flying enemy or something. It's nice to have.
It's a rare encounter where you're just going to be straight into melee, so you're always maybe going to have a turn where you can't quite get into range. So it's always nice to have that backup option. And it scales really well, because when you get multiple beams, each of them beams gets the charisma modifier added to it. So I think it's 5 when it turns into 2 beams. So you're doing like two 1d10 plus whatever your modifier is, so plus 3 or 4 at that point, which is pretty good damage at that level. Now the second invocation I took was Devil's Sight, which it gives you the ability to see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet. Now the magical part of that is quite important, because one of the main spells that's sort of crucial to the build that I've gone with is darkness.
Nice.
So what you can do with darkness is you can cast it on yourself or at a point, and it gives a 15-foot radius a sphere of darkness for the duration. And because creatures won't be able to see you, but you can see them, they'll have disadvantage when attacking you, but you will get advantage when attacking them.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, so it can sort of turn you into, you can isolate enemies or really focus an enemy down with, like, loading up on your Hexblade's Curse and then adding this darkness to yourself and just encircling them. And it's sort of it'd be quite cool thematically to be like a shadow moving through all this darkness that follows you around and sort of trapping the creatures.
Yeah, that is really cool. Cool, I say. Very, very thematic. Yeah.
So the other two choices, because up to level 8 you get 2 more choices. The 5th level one, I've gone with a Thirsting Blade. So this sort of brings the Hexblade in line with the other melee classes at 5th level, where they get the second attack per attack action. So it essentially just gives you that.
Okay.
Which and I think at 5th level it's the common one. I know fighters get another one at 11th and another one at 20th. But for your paladins and your barbarians, they get one at 5th. So it sort of it brings them in line with that. And then a cool one for the 4th choice is one called Relentless Hex. So when you've got either the Hex spell or your Hexblade's Curse on a target, as a bonus action, you can magically teleport 30 feet to a space within 5 foot of your target. So gives you a bit of mobility if your targets maybe tried to get away, or you've cursed them and then you can't get close enough, but you use that extra 30 feet teleport to just get in range. Yeah, so those were choices there. I liked Pact of the Blade for the third level choice. You know, your Pact boon.
Yeah.
It allows you to create your weapon into your hand, so you can like just generate it out of nothing, and it makes the weapon magic.
Yeah.
So,
so it's magical
for a
weapon as
sense
well.
of so for the sense of overcoming the immunity to non-magical damage and attacks, it gets rid of that. Yeah, and it seems cool. Like, I like the way that you could sort of theme out how you generate your blade. I know you sort of wouldn't have it just appear. Like, you could have like smoke appear between your hands, and then the blade's just there.
Well, especially for yours, like if you're just like wielding a shadow, it doesn't
like,
necessarily have to become an actual physical blade as such. You can just say, it's just wielding an actual shadow in your hand. Pretty cool.
It'd be pretty cool. Yeah, you can sort of envisage like shadow sort of seeping off it and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. So going back full circle to the whole elf choice, I know I did the same thing for the rogues, and because that darkness giving us the advantage, we've gone with the feat Elven Accuracy. So Elven Accuracy, again, for those who maybe don't know, is it essentially lets you take one of the dice when you've got advantage and re-roll them. So essentially you're sort of rolling your lowest out of your 2 advantage d20s and re-rolling it to see if you might get a higher score.
But that combined with what you've currently got, with being able to have like you double the chance of your critical hits, which is just makes it astounding.
Yeah, so really sort of fishing for those crits.
It's
nice. Yeah, get that damage up, and it's a half feat as well, which I always quite like. So it gets you an extra, just 1 in an ability score. But that one I chose charisma for, which is nice. Cool little ability which I think is quite thematic with the Hexblade. At 6th level, you can curse the soul of a person you slay, temporarily binding it to your service. So when you slay a humanoid, you cause its spirit to rise as from its corpse as a spectre.
Wow.
And then it gets to like fight for you. So that's quite cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be awesome to do it to like enemies that you really dislike. Like, now I've beaten you, you have to help me.
Just use and abuse them. Absolutely.
I can think of one from Heferia.
Pemberton?
If we beat. Yes. Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I thought that would have been the natural choice.
And for my 8th level feat, I've gone with Great Weapon Master, favourite of mine. And I think because of the advantage and sort of effective triple advantage, that sort of negates the -5 that you're going to be taking on the attack roll. Sort of having that bonus of the advantage giving you so much of a better chance to hit. You're not going to be too bothered about taking a -5 to the attack roll.
But then does Great Weapon Master need to be combined with a 2-handed weapon?
It does, and that is what also Pact of the Blade, I forgot to mention when talking about it in the Pact boon. Pact of the Blade allows you to choose a 2-handed weapon.
Ah, nice. Well, nice. That all comes together then. Yeah, great.
Yeah, all comes together nicely. Spells, there wasn't really. I think I went for more mobility sort of stuff. So I took like Blink, which is a really cool one. Dimension Door, which I very much like. It's a very powerful.
There's a lot of nice teleporting spells. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that could be open to sort of, as long as you've got the darkness, which is the sort of key thing about a build. The spell, I think, could be down to personal preference there.
Yeah.
Abilities. So I went with, let's go lowest to highest. I think that's what we did last time.
So again, for those who haven't seen our previous episodes, we're using the standard array. just so we've got a common place to start from, and everyone can relate to it. But by all means, just to give you an idea of where we would rate our kind of top stats to the bottom. That's the reason why we use it. But clear, please continue.
Yeah. So strength, I went with an 8. It's a bit of a dump stat in this build because you don't need it for your melee attacks because obviously you're using charisma. So yeah, it's an easy one to dump. The only issue I could sort of see is if stuff starts grappling you. If the DM sort of thinks, oh, this build's really powerful, I need to find a way around it. Let's make him make strength saving throws or grapple him so he can't actually get out. My next highest was intelligence. Obviously, Warlock's a charisma base, so intelligence isn't sort of a focus. Not for my build, anyway. Wisdom was my next one. Got the 12, which is just a nice +1 for your perception, which I forgot to mention with this class, race, even. You get proficiency in perception, which is always a nice.
It's always handy to have someone proficient with.
Always a good one to get proficient. Dex, I took 13 in there, and I also put the 1 from my origin ability score there as well to get my modifier up to 2. So I think with a lot of medium armors, which you get proficiency with as the Hexblade, the maximum bonus you can get to your AC is +2, so that synergizes really well with that. So it freed up my second highest score to go to Constitution, because obviously you're in the front lines. You
need a bit of meat on your bones.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you are gonna get hit and stuff. I know I've said darkness, that's where we're gonna focus, but stuff is gonna be able to see through that darkness at some certain points. So
just a dispel or an anti-magic field, anything.
Yeah, if you get hit with you get hit and lose your concentration, then your dark spell's gone. Which Constitution actually helps with, because obviously concentration checks go off Constitution modifier, so it's Constitution saving throw. So that's nice. And then obviously Charisma took the 15, and with the +1 from the the Elvish accuracy, and then the +2 from the origin ability score, you end up with a pretty healthy charisma score of 18 by the time you get to level 8. So +4 modifier there.
That's really good.
And that's great for all your attacks and the damage, because it's all going off that. So yeah, that's the abilities, and for
pretty standard there.
Yeah,
pretty standard for having obviously your charisma at your top, just because you're a warlock. It's your spellcasting ability, and for you it's also your melee ability. Just like Constitution's not always for a warlock, but like I say, but with Hexblade you're going to be in the fray. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
I think it helps, and I think if you were doing you could look at that and say if you were doing a melee, you could literally change charisma and strength, and it would work for a melee based class. So the background, I think it's always sort of personal choice, but I went with Far Traveller and got myself a stealth and insight proficiency.
What stealth as
might
well?
Need to be stealthy.
Quite thematic as well with your shadow.
With the shadow. Yeah. There we have it. That's the.
I've liked that a lot. I mean, obviously, I've given you my opinion a lot through that, but I always do enjoy teleporting in, or even teleporting out of trouble.
Yeah, and I think because if you put the darkness spell on yourself, that's going to follow you as you sort of teleporting, and I really like the idea of your shadowy form just sort of blinks and there's like a trail left behind you, and then you just poof back into existence with and then a shadow sort of emanates from you. Even I know it's like
as a DM, that's exactly what happens. You just go poof.
It's a real sort of, it's quite a powerful building.
It is, that is a really devastating build, even up to just 8th level.
I like the theme that you could put around it though as well. I really like the way that you'd roleplay with it, and
I'm starting to rub off on you now. That's it.
I know. You'll be doing power builds Dex. You'll be like, and I really wanted extra crits.
Yeah. But yes, so
Yeah.
I'll go through mine then. So
Yes, please do.
So, as usual, we will start with race, and I've chosen fairy as my race.
Okay.
Yeah, completely different. Yeah, so
Wow.
with fairy, you're only size small, so very much like a gnome. So you are only quite small. So you're not like a fairy, like this kind of big kind of fairy. No, you're like gnome kind of size fairy.
Yeah.
But yes, and again, you do get those ability score increases, which you just get to modify as you see fit. But even
it's a cool change, a cool addition, sort of from.
Yeah, it's from just saying this is definitely what you get to. Yeah, it leans more towards a point-based system, which I really like point-based systems. But
it makes sense because you get smarter. So the bee's maybe like a smarter orc that's studied all his life, and it wouldn't make sense for him to be stronger. It'd make more sense for him to have like intelligence, sort of thing. Or maybe you've got a really charismatic, I don't know, bugbear.
You do all sorts with it. It just gives you a bit more ability to be able to modify that however you see fit, and it just gives you that little bit, depending on what class you want to build as well. So you might want to throw it into something else. So I like that variety you can give to a lot of the newer races. But with fairy, you get the ability of fairy magic. So from the get-go, you will know the druid craft cantrip. So then at 3rd level, you would gain the fairy fire spell, which is always rather handy.
Nice.
At 5th level, you can also enlarge and reduce spell, which is pretty cool. And you can choose between intelligence, wisdom, and charisma as your spellcasting ability for that. And I've naturally gone for charisma, being a warlock build. So then,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's just a nice little bit extra additional magic. And you, being a fairy, you can also fly equal to your walking speed.
Yeah,
and
nice.
But obviously you can't do that if you're wearing medium or heavy armor. But for a fairy warlock, you're just not gonna. But which is interesting, for even though it's a small race, your walking speed is 30 feet rather than 20.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that is good.
Which is pretty good. So I'm assuming it's just because you're probably not going to walk a great deal, you're always going to fly. I think that's probably the assumption there.
Yeah, even if they're walking or travelling short distances, you can just imagine them just above the ground a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then on to the actual level choices. So, as we say, that proficiencies from the get-go, I chose deception and intimidation. Now, see, just as an odd kind of the way I wanted to play this character, just because, I'll go into what my otherworldly patron is. Being a fairy, my otherworldly patron is an archfey. So it's just leaning into that thematic of we're just purely from the Fey realm. You know, or you could be in the Fey realm either for, I don't know, you could want to trick humans. You could just be here because your patron wants to just cause chaos or just have fun or cause amusement. Or you could be kidnapping people for the archfays to keep as pets. You know, you do all sorts of things with it. There's a lot of that entirely down to your DM as how they want to play that your archfey patron. But either which way, you would always kind of want deception and intimidation as part of that. So I thought I like
the idea of a small fairy intimidating people.
I know, yeah, I just love the idea. So then my what is it now? So you get kind of Fey presence, which your patron bestows on the ability to project a beguiling and fearsome presence on So it's like, as an action, you can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from me to make a wisdom save against Warlock spell save DC. And the creatures that fail there will all become charmed or frightened, your choice.
Oh,
so
nice.
Which is pretty awesome. That's at
Cool.
That's at first level.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you suddenly get surrounded, you're just like, nope, you get frightened of me, or charmed. So it's either which way. That's pretty amazing.
It sort of leads into that, maybe stealing people to go away to the Fae as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, my Eldritch invocations. I went for. Sorry, I'll tell you what, the Pact Boon first, because I chose the Pact Boon of the Pact of the Talisman, because then that affects what you can choose as part of your invocations. So as part of that, you get a talisman which gives you lots of extra kind of abilities. I suppose, being from the Fae realm, this can be absolutely anything. It could be absolutely anything. It could be a shell or an actual talisman, a metal, because the talisman, everyone tends to think like a metal medallion or something, but it could be absolutely. It doesn't have to be around your neck. It could be absolutely anything on your person. So yeah, it could be. I don't know. Absolutely anything. I mean, Fae realm's full of chaos. It could be absolutely anything.
Like it could be like a part of a Fae realm creature.
Yeah, absolutely. But this amulet or talisman can aid the wearer when you need it the most. So when the wearer fails an ability check, you can add a D4 to the roll. So that's any ability check. And it does say when it fails an ability check. So even though your initiative is technically an ability check, it says when it fails an ability check. So you can never really fail an initiative check. So it doesn't. As rules as written, you wouldn't be able to add it to that. But check with your DM; they might be lenient about it.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't think I would, but it's down to your DM at the end of the day. So yes, which is great. I mean, a D4 could make all the difference if you think you've only just missed out on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and if you lose your talisman, all you have to do is a 1-hour ceremony to make a replacement. And
Handy.
it is pretty cool. So then the Eldritch invocations. So as you mentioned before, when you level up, you get to change one of your already pre-existing ones if you wish. And to get to my selection that I've chosen at level 8, you would have to, because 3 of them are prerequisites of level 7. Which, I know you're thinking, at 3 of level 7, can you do that? You can, because at level, I think it's at level 7 or level 8, you get an extra invocation. So you get your extra invocation, which you can automatically put a level 7 in there and change one of your pre-existing ones to level 7, and then when you level up to 8 again, you change another one to level 7. So you can do that once you get to level 8. So the ones I chose were Rebuke of the Talisman. So when the wearer of your talisman is hit by an attacker within 30 feet, you can use your reaction to deal psychic damage to the attacker equal to your proficiency bonus and push it up to 10 feet away.
Oh, nice.
So if something is in melee range and hits you, you can just go, no, deal it. It's only going to be a relatively small amount of damage because it's only your proficiency bonus, but it's some damage and pushes it away, which is always pretty cool.
It all adds up.
It does.
It all adds up.
Without a doubt. And then another one, which is Bewitching Whispers, which is one of my first level 7th choice. So you can cast Compulsion once using a Warlock spell slot, which you pick a direction and you compel someone to walk in that direction.
Nice.
Continuously. But you can't force them off a cliff or off into lava, into danger, but it just make them go away. Just that direction, off with you. I just love that. It's like, oh yeah, you're walking away from our hefty barbarian and fighter. Like, nope, go back.
I like the idea of doing it out of combat as well. Just save the town crier. Go that way, please. All the villagers are like, where's he gone?
Go that way. Like, yes, he's trying to read his town cry. It's like, and also on the nears.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
you
all
could
funny.
have a lot of fun out of it.
It's true, yeah. You could have a lot of fun with that. It's like, walk towards that corner, stay there till I tell you otherwise. So the next one is protection of the talisman. So when the wearer of your talisman fails a saving throw, you can add a d4 to the roll. So that's very much similar to your initial kind of bonus you get with the talisman, but it adds it to saving throws.
Nice.
But you can use this number of times equals to your proficiency bonus.
That's really good.
Per long rest. But yeah, it's really, really useful. So, and then Trickster's Escape. So you can cast Freedom of Movement once upon myself without expending a spell slot. So I just really love the idea of a very slippery character. So of course, freedom of movement, and that's without spending a spell slot. So if you do get into combat, and I think freedom of movement also allows you to get out of combat without somebody getting a attack of opportunity on you. So it's all that kind of a slippery character, just be able to get away and slip out, or if you're bound, you can just I'm off.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah.
So level 4 ability score improvement. Oh, sorry, one last thing while we're actually talking about the Eldritch Invocations. One of the ones that I actually would have chosen, which you can't yet at level 8, but as soon as you hit level 12, I would have chosen Bond of the Talisman, and personally I could have swapped out any of those for this particular one. It'd be a personal choice at the time, but which is while someone else is wearing your talisman, so you can give your talisman to somebody else. And you use your action to teleport to the unoccupied space closest to them, provided the two of you are on the same plane of existence. So they could be anywhere in the world, and you can just teleport back to them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, right?
Oh, quality. And you could theme that really well, sort of, if you had like a love or a love interest or a wife or something, or a child. Yeah, you'd hand them your talisman.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, admittedly, you'd lose out on quite a bit of those kind of bonuses that you've kind of geared up towards that. But at any point, if you then think, oh, actually, I could really do with that, you can still do your 1 hour's worth of downtime to then create yourself a new one, and the other one just becomes inert, and you've got it now. So yeah, you always have that option to be able to do that.
Yeah, cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Really powerful effect.
Yeah, exactly. It's because if you're then going, right, I'm going to go into this place, it's really dangerous, really sneaky, but you hold on to this, I'll get it back off you when I get back. So you've always got that out straight away.
It's really good for scouting and
exactly. Yeah, you could just go into an enemy encampment or enemy. You can fly as well, so you can just fly up into a castle window, squeeze your small body in through an arrow slit or something, and then try and sneak around an enemy lair. But as soon as you get discovered anywhere on this plane of existence, poof, gone. It's great.
Oh, and that was at level 12.
That's at level 12. Yeah.
There is some really cool stuff down the line of it.
Exactly.
Obviously, we only go to level 8 because I think
generally yes, but I just had to mention that because I would love to just have that at this level. But obviously, it's powerful. It's very good.
Yeah.
Level 4 ability score improvement. I did actually go for an ability score improvement. I went for charisma score and dex score, but again, like I say, I'll go over the ability scores that I chose shortly. At level 6, as part of the Archfey, you get the Misty Escape, which allows you to vanish in a puff of mist in response to harm. So when you take damage, you can use your reaction to turn invisible and teleport 60 feet. So you turn invisible and teleport, which is amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Really cool.
Yeah, exactly. To an unoccupied space you can see, and you remain invisible till the start of your next turn or until you attack or cast a spell. So, yeah, it's standard kind of minor invisibility and teleporting, which just outstanding.
Yeah, combined together, that seems like a really powerful effect.
Yeah, and that's
nice
once per short rest.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really handy.
So, then ability score improvement at level 8. I actually did go for a feat, and for this one I went with squat nimbleness. So that one is, it's as we've previously said, we do love our half feats on this one, and this is no exception. So this is one where you get to increase your strength or dexterity score. You just get to choose one of those two. By 1 to a maximum of 20, and you increase your walking speed by 5 feet. So that also means that if you also increase your flying speed by 5 feet, which is always really handy.
Yeah, really good.
So you also gain proficiency in acrobatics and athletics. Or athletics, one or the other. And I think the fact that I can fly, it would always be acrobatics. You don't need athletics. Get out of the window. Who's going to want a strength build for a warlock? But again, if you have got a strength build for a warlock, please let us know. We would love to find out. So, and you also gain advantage on any strength, athletics, or dexterity acrobatics check you make from escape from being grappled.
Oh right, okay, so
it's really nice.
Yeah, grapple easy.
Yeah, and naturally I picked the dexterity score and acrobatics. So yes, which all in all makes me quite a slippery character, and this kind of spells that I picked...
very nimble.
Yeah, exactly. So naturally I picked Eldritch Blast. I mean, what's a warlock without Eldritch Blast?
Yep.
So then...
Bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean... and some of the other kind of powerful cantrips, like Toll the Dead, was the other cantrip we picked for that, and Hex. But then some of the other ones that I picked on there were things like Enthrall. It's just a very fey thing to do. It's a very enchantment, a school of enchantment. Kind of lean-in spells, and most of them I've picked are enchantment. Like Crown of Madness is just a wonderful, very fey kind of spell to have on there. Just things to mess with people's mind, like Rawlathim's Psychic Lance. Just to be able to deal kind of lots of kind of psychic damage, which is pretty mental. I mean, it's what I did is I went to pick, because of the way Warlock's spellcasting works, you always have to cast it at its most highest spell level you can do. So I always had picked spells which leveled quite well with having to do it quite high spell slot. So I mean, that one's one good example of that, as well as kind of Witch Bolt as well. So you can, especially because you only get a limited amount of spell slots, Witch Bolt you can only need to cast it once, and then you can keep it up for that one time, so you can still keep hitting them turn after turn just from one spell slot. So this is why it was a great choice for a warlock. So ability scores, as is natural, strength is the automatic dump stat from there. I don't understand why you'd need it for a warlock, but again, let us know if you figured it out how to incorporate it. Then next up is wisdom. I actually put only wisdom as 10. So yeah, but that does bring my total up to 12 with all the extra bonuses that I put on there. So yeah, so wisdom. My racial bonus I put +2 in wisdom for that. So yeah, sort of like I say, it's always good to have a little bit of wisdom in there, particularly for perception.
Yep.
And then dexterity is my 12, which dexterity will bring that up to, where's my dexterity gone? There we are, up to a total of 14. I put, obviously, from my feet, I got a +1 from that, and a +1 from, it just says a miscellaneous bonus. I think that was from another one of my previous choices in, it's not racial.
One of your ability.
That's right, you're right. It was on a previous ability score one as well. So yeah, and then next up was Constitution at 13. But my +1 from racial bonus I put into that to round that off up to 14, so I do still get a +2. I mean, the idea was I had a reasonable amount of Constitution on there, purely because so then I can get into combat, and then if I get damaged or anything, I can just poof, teleport back out. Because you can get in, use your natural Fey abilities to be able to charm them, frighten them, and you don't mind getting hit once or twice to then poof, teleport back out again. But also with like spells like Hellish Rebuke, that you can then, you don't mind getting hit because you're going to deal a massive chunk of damage to them at the same time. So that was my thinking behind it. So then next up was Intelligence at 14. Always like a nice chunk of intelligence, because the Fae, quite intelligent. This is the way I was kind of leaning into it, as being a very intelligent kind of character to go with that. And then Charisma as my 15, and then with my my feet, so my +1 to that, just to round it up to 16, which as always for a warlock, charisma is always going to be your highest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it's some different choices. It's not what I was expecting, but cool.
Exactly.
I like it.
So
and very, very sort of very good across the board, bar strength, everything.
Yeah, because of lots.
At least
yeah,
because +1 modifier.
Exactly. I mean, so
+2,
at the totals, so obviously strength at 8, wisdom at 12, then Dex, Con, and Intelligence are all at 14, and then charisma at 16. Like I say, it levels it all off at a reasonably high level. So yeah, I liked that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then for background, I also picked Far Traveller. Yep, it's a nice one to pick.
Yeah.
But being from the Fey realm, there's not much further you could have travelled.
No.
Where are you? I'm pretty far.
Yeah.
But like you say, you automatically get proficiencies in Insight and Perception. I picked a tool proficiencies of a viol. I thought a really nice kind of concept of just having this happy-go-lucky fairy that just plays a bit of jaunty tune on he travels with the party. Nice. or even almost kind of like a bard, where if you're casting like charm on people and stuff, you just start playing the violin.
I wasn't going to say it, but it does seem it feels very bard-like.
It is quite bardish, isn't it?
The bardic warlock. I like it.
Yeah, like almost like a half bard. And it's like at some point we will do multi-classing once we've run out of the standard classes. I might actually look in once we start multi-classing the warlock side. I might look at doing a warlock bard.
Very spicy warlock multi-class.
I bet.
It plays very much of what I've built, and then enhances it with something else from a different class. But yeah. We'll cover that down the line.
We will cover that down the line. And that kind of brings us to the end of my character. So, what is your initial thoughts?
I really like it. It's very, like you say, slippery and nimble and very fairy-like. Very much like a fairy from the fairy. Poofing in and out, sort of the teleporting and the vanishing. And
I did pick a lot of teleportation choices. On purpose.
Yeah, and I sort of went with... I did as well, actually. And
as soon as you were going through it, I was like, yeah, that's a lot of also teleportation choices. Different teleportation choices for different reasons. And I really liked the completely opposite way we went with it, even though we're both kind of teleporting. It's really cool.
It's really cool. And I think building these warlocks, it's shocked me how different and how many choices and how unique you make them. And then
there's a lot of choices for warlock. A hell of a lot of choices.
Having the Eldritch invocations being able to be changed each time you level up as well gives you a lot of sort of like, oh, I'll try this out and maybe I don't like it. Maybe this one would suit me better.
Especially at the earlier levels when you're leveling up maybe a little bit quicker than you would later on. You'd be like, actually, for this level, I might swap this one out because I wasn't really using it very much and swap it out with something else. And you get to experiment a bit more. And by all means, talk to your DM and say, look, I'd like to try this out. And I mean, it's in the rules you can do, but just always warn you.
Always check.
Always check. But yes, next episode we are going to be doing monks. Oh, I'm looking forward to my monk. So, so stick around. Click the like and subscribe button so you can keep up to date on all of our class builds. So monk next time, and if you haven't caught them already, our cleric and rogue builds are already on the channel, so go check them out somewhere down there. So somewhere
I imagine the link will be somewhere.
That off in that side, probably on that list on that side down there. But anyway, go check it out, and until next time, take care.